Good morning, guys. It's the morning of September the 26th. It is a very dreary, cloudy day here in Central Virginia. Welcome to my channel, Tomatoes, Poppies, and Everything Gardening. I'm Heather, and today we're going to do my backyard and raised bed area and side yard food area garden tour. We had Tropical Storm Ophelia come through this weekend and really kind of made a very messy uh, litter of leaves and branches all over my front and backyard. We've been cleaning up for a couple days now. My husband's used the leaf blower here on the decks and then some in the yard. But we've just been picking up branches, trying to mend plants that kind of got bent over or broken or wind whipped. So you'll see some of that as we come along. My green stalks I was able to protect by grouping them together. I pushed all three together so they were kind of one solid unit. I don't see any major damage to these guys, which was great. Now this blackberry container here, this is a patty cake blackberry. It was on its side and some of the branches did get a little bit of issue, but I kind of propped them up with a stick. I think it's going to be okay. You'll just see cardboard blown everywhere, leaves, branches. It's just going to be a little bit of time to get everything cleaned up. Not in a hurry because I'm still trying to get my cool season crops in the ground. So you can see my poor little raspberries here got wind whipped, some branches broken. There's just a litter of these helicopter seed pods that come off the trees. In addition, I have already been cleaning up a lot of my plants. So we're making that transition now from summer to fall. This L-shaped bed here, I have 5 tomato plants. 2 got taken out in the past week. The other 3 I heavily pruned. And that was my Dolly Parton rose that I saved from the clearance bin earlier this year. I love that rose. It's such a beautiful, bright orange red. So I'm just kind of giving you an overview of some of the messes I need to work on this week. We've already talked about those raspberries. And this tomato bed's pretty stable. I think I will be able to harvest several more tomatoes off of this before first frost. There is something though down there. This is like lily tuff, I think. And it planted itself there. I did not plant that. I don't know if it's invasive. I'm going to have to do some more research. I have a tab open on my phone. I just haven't taken the time to read about it yet. Have some baby Brussels sprouts in this other L-shaped bed. That is a cucumber baby. And that is Space Master 80. And you just saw my fairy rose. This is a container that got knocked over too, probably with the storms. And it looks like my poor little Corabelle there has been out of dirt for a couple days. So we'll put him back in the soil and see if he can recover. Yeah, I don't know what to do with all those helicopter seed thingies. Hopefully the wind will just blow them away once everything dries out. This is my blue passion vine, and I started this from seed in the ground. It took many, many months of germination. I'm so happy about it though. This is stilt grass. It is a horrible, horrible invasive weed here. If you see it, pull it as soon as you can. Once those seed pods or seed heads start forming, you're in trouble next year. So I try to pull it every time I see it. Now you just saw a lot of leaf litter on the ground. Some of that was from me because yesterday I came out here and I heavily pruned these peppers, and I also harvested my sage and pruned that sage plant because I'm doing something that's kind of like a relay in gardening. So I still have these peppers here and they have fruit in development, but I wanted to get a couple cabbages planted in those pots. So they're actually both in the same container at the same time. So I needed to prune those peppers to give light to that cabbage. All of these beds got switched around in the past week. So now these beds are ready for fall. I've got cabbage on one side. I've got red cabbage on the other. I've got peas planted all along the trellis. And I think there might be one popping up right there. And I've still got Swiss chard there. That was planted last year, right there on the right. But I put some more seeds in the ground because that plant will be bolting probably come early spring. And pulled out a lot of strawberries out of that bed too. Here's a volunteer coneflower. And this rose here was a cutting I just stuck there to see if it would root, and it did. It's so pretty. My yard long beans have done not too great. Here I'm showing you the sky. It is just completely, I don't want to say depressing because you know it's a beautiful day. It's not raining, it's not storming, but it is kind of dreary. it does feel a bit dreary. No sun at all. So here are a couple of the beans. They're kind of still very young in development, but I'm going to try to eat a few here in the next couple of weeks. I've never grown the yard-long beans, so they're kind of interesting to me. The impatiens I planted here when I cleaned up the walkway and cleaned up these corbels are doing great. The corbels look beautiful too. I've already had to cut the flower seed stalks again. The beans here on this trellis are really at their end. I'm letting a couple go to seed. This is rattlesnake pole bean. And I've got a bed here of volunteer violas that I've been planting. Every time I find them, I want to just have a whole strip of violas here. Couple tomatoes still on this fence that are still trying to put a couple fruits out there, so I'm waiting on those before I take them down. So last night I came out here with a ladder and I climbed up here and I started taking out vines. These are cherry tomatoes on this side of the trellis. The Chadwick, both of those are out. The only two varieties still surviving are chocolate cherry. No, hold on, let me think. It's black cherry and the sun gold. So these are cuttings right here. This was a cutting that I rooted just in these pots, and those million bells took off. The middle one though is a more recent cutting. I don't know if it's going to make it or not, but the top and the bottom one did. And I was showing you the strawberries I put out of that bed. Here are the coleus that I pruned. It's probably been 2 weeks now, and you can see the new growth. Just like basil, you cut it the same way above the leaf node, and then you get new growth, and it kind of divides and multiplies that way. Here are the cuttings, and I've been rooting them in water. These were the bigger cuttings. The smaller ones I just stuck straight in the ground, and they all did great. But these I'm going to redo a bed out front with now that it's not as much sun. All of this queen cyan basil was on the ground after the storm. I have kind of supported it with bamboo sticks, and I need to pinch off all the bruised leaves. A lot of them got bruised and damaged. So I think I'm showing you this other planter that I do have a squash growing in, very slowly though. I've got my buckwheat in there. This is the red ruby buckwheat. And then I did plant some cowpeas just to see if it was too late, if we could get them to grow. It's probably too late, but we'll see. Here's some of my mess from cleaning up last night. I've got more to go on this trellis. This is purple ruffle basil. I know it's not purple. It's a seed issue from the company I bought it from. So, yeah, you can just see I've been taking tomatoes out. They were basically just sticks at this point. These tomatoes in full sun have really had a rough go. Those are my Ace 55 suckers that will be in pots, and I will take them in and out of the garage when it starts to get cold. Got chocolate mint that has migrated into that bed I need to pull out. And then this side of the trellis is done. I've got broccoli starts. I've got 6 total in a 2x8 strip. And then I've got carrot seeds I sprinkled. I've still got a few of the tomatoes there hanging on. They still have a lot of fruit and flowers, so I'm just going to let them ride it out and see what happens. Yeah, and I also had some onions over there too. We'll talk about that in a second. And so I need to work on this half of the trellis. I've got some broccoli starts there that I want to put in, but first I got to clean up this mint. It's very invasive. I had it in a pot, but it managed to make its way over to that soil. Yellow bell pepper, it finally turned. I've been waiting. This was an experiment to see how long it would take for that pale yellow fruit to turn a beautiful color. And let me tell you, it feels like months. Got another squash there in that pot, and some sweet alyssum I dug up and relocated. That's a volunteer cherry tomato that has not produced fruit yet. Maybe it has, and the deer have been eating it. I just don't know. These are all patio peach babies that I up-potted just a few days ago. They're looking really great after that new soil. Some strawberries from that bed that I flipped in the back. And I also put spinach seeds down in there. So I've got some American spinach in 4 of those pots on this back strip. This is a snapdragon vine. I love snapdragon vine. Grows in part sun very well. This is the bed I seeded probably 3-4 weeks ago now. It is just infiltrated with larkspur seedlings, and that's what I'm picking out. It was all my fault. I had some larkspur that self-seeded in this bed, and I thought, oh, that's so pretty. Let's just see what happens. Maybe it'll help keep hornworms away. Let's make this an experiment. I did that over the summer. Larkspur does not keep hornworms away. It may have helped prevent the deer from putting their head over my hedge there and eating, though. But it's seeded, and now I've got all these baby larkspurs coming up, and I'm going to pick them. Larkspur is very toxic and poisonous, so I don't want Tonto to accidentally, get exposed to that. I usually keep larkspur way down by my driveway. It ended up way up here, though, this spring. Unfortunately, my pepper bed got wind whipped also this weekend, and one of them got topped. I'm not sure which one. Surprisingly, a lot of the babies are still there, and I actually saw a couple flowers. I do plan to come out here this week and really defoliage these plants, prune them, because I want to get something planted in that bed as well, but I also want the rest of those peppers. So again, I'm going to be practicing relay gardening, and that is a term, and I didn't even know that until I saw someone talking about it on a video. I just thought it was me trying to make the best use of my space. So everything, is kind of in transition, a mess. Here's my climbing rose. That is going to get relocated. Here are those squashes I planted really late to see if I could get a harvest before first frost. Fingers crossed, it's still possible. I did harvest all my basil the other day, but I missed a few plants that I just saw over there in that walkway. Maybe I'll make some pesto. Maybe that's something I'll do this week. And so here we are back at that one bed. I really need to get in here, just start weeding, pulling out all those larkspur babies. They're very distinct, so you kind of know what they look like, especially when they start to get their second sow leaves. Here is a tromboncino. I doubt if he's going to make it. I mean, he has been so slow growing. And I'm showing you my onions over here. So these were onions I planted that didn't get a lot of light during the summer because the trellis was full. They're all like little sets that you might buy in the spring. They're real hard. They're dry. So I'm just leaving them in the ground. I think they will start to sprout again. And actually there's a couple that have sprouted. And I will have some nice bulbing onions. Hopefully not bolting onions come spring. So there is a view of the raised bed area we just left, and now we're kind of going on to my side yard, which I do have some plants here on the side yard. This is right beside my driveway. This is my chocolate Tasmanian baby, and he's getting big, and he will go in and out of the garage once it starts to get cold at night. And he's in a pot, so I can do that. And it's not a very heavy pot. It's a dwarf plant. Here I started working on my cucumber whiskey barrel last night because I was going to clear everything out, and then I saw this. I was so happy. This is a jelly melon. I've tried for 3 whole years to grow jelly melon. I've never been successful. This is my closest to that goal. My daughter wanted to try one, so I've been growing them, never successful, and now we finally have just one little fruit. So I couldn't pull those vines, so we're going to wait until that is harvested, and then I can flip that bed and put collard greens. You can see my eggplants there. I think I should get some more fruits before we get really cold. And I see that this poor ground cherry got a lot of damage during the storm. May have to just pull that out, but there is a chocolate Tasmanian baby there too. Sedum here on the left next to the eggplant. You can see the sunflowers are completely kaput. So I don't know if the birds have gotten all the seeds out yet. I'll look and see before I pull those. And mountain mint here, mountain mint that's taken over this whole bed. I didn't realize that until I pulled the cucumbers out. This is completely full of mountain mint now. So I may up pot some of these for my spring sale, my plant sale. I may just leave them with the collards though and just kind of let them go dormant during the winter. We'll see. I'm not sure yet, but I need to get busy working on that. Queen Lanzania, full sun location. It doesn't even have the lime color. In the backyard, I have some, they are lime, but these turn more of a pinkish salmon color. My peppers here in this whiskey barrel are protected by my praying mantis buddy. And so they look great. He's not out here today. I don't know why. I guess because it's so cloudy and not sunny. Cucamelon vines, I'm still fighting those. They just try to take over everything. It's kind of a pain in the butt, really. Wish I had never planted those. A dahlia trying to perk back up now that the heat's cooled off. Those were some asters I got on clearance at Walmart the other day for just $3 each. Aster is a great fall plant. In my opinion, better than mums. I'm not a mum fan at all. Here are some mountain daisies. They're about ready to open. A nice, pretty fall flower. They kind of smell weird, though. And then I wanted to show y'all this. Remember when I made this a few months ago? It's a hose guide. My daughter crushed it with the car the other day. She's been having trouble pulling up here in the driveway, so about a 1 to 2 foot from way back there all the way up, she drove over everything. So I had to clean up this mountain daisies. I have a lot of cuttings and water because it was a mess. But yeah, she crushed that. It was kind of shocking. So now we're going to go up this little walkway here. You can see my milkweed has not been eaten. I don't know where the monarchs are. I hope they show up. I have a lot of milkweed, various spots. It's all perfectly intact. They've not been eating it. This is the flamingo celosia. And now that it's cooling off and it's on fall, they're starting to turn that pretty pink color. But all through summer, they were this ashen gray, not very pretty. Now they're pretty, so I don't mind them as much. Here is my volunteer baby corn. I grew baby corn last summer, and it did well. And you can see it's time. The tassel says turn color. I think you've got like 3 days after they turn with the baby corn to get them harvested. And so it's time. I just happened to be there at the right time. I think I had 2 or 3 volunteer plants scattered throughout the yard this year. This was one. So I'm not expecting much because normally you want to plant them together in like a block. But you can see some of the kernels did get pollinated. And I'm not going to waste this. I'm going to take it inside and cook that and eat those few little kernels. I think I'm trying to show you some Mexican tarragon. And yeah, I'm going to harvest that fresh growth so I can have that in my herb collection, the pantry. Some more million bells that really will take over a pot if you let it. I have some dark cucumbers growing in here. Here are some baby ones, but it looks like when we pan up slightly, you're going to see a bigger one. I can probably pick that tomorrow. Surprised these did not get blown off because the watermelon to the left here, this volunteer watermelon, that fruit got knocked off and it split. And then the trellis that it's growing up, the osblick, it actually got turned on its side. I mean, I have fixed it since, but yeah, and there's another baby watermelon. I hope I get one watermelon off this plant. I'll be so happy. Thai chilies, they look like they need some fertilization, and I did that yesterday. Also, the jalapeno here, the leaves are kind of yellow, and I gave it a little fertilization too. Probably time to do another round of harvesting on my jalapenos. I only had one plant this year. Kind of wish I had more, but you know, that's just how things are sometimes. You just end up with one. And here's some Florida mustard. I'm growing kind of away from all my other stuff because for me, it doesn't do well with other plants. I would never companion plant with that. For me, I've learned my lesson with mustard. All right, guys, that's going to conclude this video. I hope you're having the best gardening week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.